The last resort. The crystal spires of Zenthra Prime trembled as another impact shook the planet's defensive shields. High Chancellor Vex stood before the Council of Worlds, his 6 arms folded in what humans would recognize as defeat. The holographic display showed the approaching darkness, not ships, but living shadows that consumed everything in their path. The Void Hunters had arrived. Honored Council members, Vex's voice resonated through the chamber, his bioluminescent patches dimming with each word. Our most advanced weapons have failed. The quantum barriers are collapsing. 7 worlds have already fallen silent. He paused, allowing the weight of his words to settle. We have exhausted all conventional options. Council member Thyra leaned forward, her serpentine form quailing with agitation. What are you suggesting, Chancellor? Surely you don't mean. The humans, Vex stated flatly. The chamber erupted in protests. Absolutely not. The Morvac representative slammed his crystalline fist on the table. We expelled them from the Galactic Alliance for good reason. Their chaotic nature, their reckless experimentation. Their survival, Vex interrupted. When the core worlds faced the gamma-ray catastrophe 50 cycles ago, who developed the shield technology that saved billions? When the plague of minds threatened all sentient species, who found the cure through methods we deemed unethical? The humans. The chamber fell silent. Everyone remembered, though few wished to acknowledge it. Humanity had been cast out not for their failures, but for their uncomfortable successes. Their refusal to follow established protocols, their tendency to find solutions where none should exist. It had made the orderly species of the Alliance nervous. They've been in isolation for 30 years, whispered Elder Crane of the Synthesis Collective. Why would they help us now? Vex moved to the central platform, his decision already made. Because that's what humans do. They help, even when logic dictates otherwise. He activated the Forbidden Communication Array, its human-designed quantum entanglement system still functional after decades of neglect. The encryption protocols engage, cycling through layers of security that the Alliance had insisted upon when dealing with human technology. Then, unexpectedly quick, a connection established. A human face appeared on the main view screen. Female, with weathered features and eyes that held both wariness and curiosity. This is Captain Sarah Rodriguez of the Earth Defense Network, she said, her voice carrying the weight of authority. I must say, Chancellor Vex, this is an unexpected pleasure. It's been, 3 decades since the Alliance deemed humanity too dangerous for civilized space. Vex straightened, pushing down his pride. Captain Rodriguez, I come to you not as a representative of the Alliance that wronged your species, but as a being facing extinction. The Void Hunters have breached our defenses. We have no other options. Rodriguez leaned back in her chair, studying the alien Chancellor. The Void Hunters. We've been monitoring their approach. Nasty business. Consumption-based entities. And you want our help? Yes. After your alliance voted unanimously to exclude humanity from all trade routes, scientific exchanges, and diplomatic relations. Yes. After declaring our methods antithetical to galactic stability. Vex's patches flared briefly. Captain, I will not insult your intelligence with excuses. We were wrong. We feared what we didn't understand. But right now, billions of lives hang in the balance. If you refuse, I understand. We have earned your rejection. Rodriguez was quiet for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then she smiled, a distinctly human expression that sent an involuntary shiver through several council members. Chancellor, do you know what humans call this situation? I do not. Tuesday. She tapped something off-screen. I'm transmitting coordinates. You'll need to drop your dimensional locks. I know you have them active. Our fleet will arrive in 18 hours. The council erupted again. Fleet? How many ships? Rodriguez's smile widened. All of them. Captain, Vex said urgently, the Void Hunters number in the millions. They consume energy itself. Our most powerful weapons. Chancellor, Rodriguez interrupted gently. You called us because conventional methods failed. So we're not bringing conventional solutions. 18 hours. Be ready. The connection terminated, leaving the council in stunned silence. What have you done? Thyra demanded. Vex turned to face his peers. What we should have done 30 years ago. I've asked for help from the only species that thrives on the impossible. Over the next hours, reports flooded in from across the Empire. The Void Hunters advanced steadily, their presence turning stars cold and dark. Defensive fleets fell back, their energy weapons only feeding the enemy's hunger. The death toll climbed into the billions. Exactly 18 hours later, space itself seemed to hiccup. Where moments before there had been empty void, suddenly there were ships. Not the sleek, symmetrical vessels of Alliance design, but a chaotic assembly of forms that hurt to look at directly. Some appeared to be asteroids with engines attached. Others defied classification entirely, geometric shapes that shouldn't exist in three-dimensional space, vessels that seemed to phase in and out of reality. The human fleet had arrived. By the ancient codes, whispered the Morvek representative. What are those things? A new communication channel opened. Admiral Chen, an older human with cybernetic enhancements visible along his jaw, appeared on the screen. Chancellor Vex, this is the Combined Human Defense Force. I understand you have a pest problem. Admiral, Vex gestured to the tactical display. The Void Hunters are less than 6 hours from this position. They've consumed everything we've sent against them. Chen nodded thoughtfully. Yes, we've been analyzing their pattern. Fascinating entities. They operate on principles similar to our old theoretical models of entropy manipulation. We had a similar problem about 40 years ago in the Magellanic Clouds. The Council leaned forward. You've encountered them before. Not them specifically, but something similar. We were experimenting with zero-point energy extraction when we accidentally opened a dimensional rift. The entities that came through fed on coherent energy patterns, lost a research station before we figured out the solution. Which was? Vex asked, hope creeping into his voice. Chen's expression turned serious. We fed them chaos. The next hours passed in a blur of activity. Human vessels took positions that seemed random, even reckless. Some ships flew directly toward the advancing Void Hunters, broadcasting massive energy signatures that should have made them prime targets. Others went dark, drifting like debris. The Alliance forces watched in growing confusion as the humans appeared to abandon all military doctrine. Then the Void Hunters arrived. The leading edge of the swarm descended upon the human bait ships, dark tendrils reaching out to consume the abundant energy. At that moment, the seemingly derelict human vessels came alive. But instead of weapons fire, they unleashed something far more devastating. Pure, undirected chaos. Random frequency generators screamed across every spectrum. Probability disruptors created pockets of space where the laws of physics fluctuated wildly. Quantum foam generators turned stable space-time into a boiling mass of virtual particles. The orderly pattern of the Void Hunters' advance faltered. Impossible, Thyra gasped. They're feeding the Hunters. Entropy. Rodriguez's voice came through the communication system. Not feeding them. Council member. Poisoning them. These entities evolved to consume ordered energy. They're predators of civilization, of structure. But chaos. Raw, unfiltered chaos. That's anathema to their nature. The tactical display showed the truth of her words. Where the Void Hunters encountered the human chaos fields, they recoiled. Some simply dissipated, unable to maintain cohesion. Others fled, seeking the ordered energy patterns they required to survive. Within hours, the unstoppable swarm that had consumed 7 worlds was in full retreat. As the immediate threat receded, Chancellor Vex found himself standing beside Captain Rodriguez on the observation deck of her ship. The human vessel's interior was a curious mix of high technology and personal touches. Family photos, plants growing in hydroponic tubes, even what appeared to be a ship's cat lounging near a control panel. "I must ask," Vex said finally, "why did you help us? After everything?" Rodriguez turned to him, her expression thoughtful. "Chancellor, do you know the most important lesson humanity learned in our early space age?" "I do not." "That the universe is vast, cold, and indifferent, and in the face of that cosmic indifference, the only thing that matters is what we choose to do for each other." She gestured toward the retreating darkness. "You pushed us away because we were different, chaotic, unpredictable. But those very qualities saved us all today." Vex's patches glowed with what humans might recognize as shame. "We let fear govern our decisions. We saw your adaptability as instability, your creativity as chaos. And now I see that sometimes the galaxy needs a little chaos." He turned to face her fully. "Captain Rodriguez, on behalf of the Council of Worlds, I formally request that humanity rejoin the Galactic Alliance." Rodriguez smiled. "We'll consider it, but things will have to change. No more isolation protocols. No more restricted technologies. We share knowledge, all of it, even the dangerous bits. Especially the dangerous bits." "Agreed. Though I suspect many species will need time to adjust to human methods." "That's fine," Rodriguez said, her smile turning mischievous. "We've gotten pretty good at being patient. After all, we waited 30 years for you to call." As the human fleet prepared to depart, leaving behind defensive platforms and technical advisors, the galaxy faced a new reality. The ordered perfection the Alliance had prized for millennia had nearly led to their extinction. It was humanity's chaos, their refusal to accept impossibility, their willingness to try the unthinkable, that had saved them all. The Void Hunters were gone, but the real change was just beginning. Across the galaxy, species began to question their long-held beliefs about order and chaos, stability and change. And at the center of it all were the humans, ready to teach the galaxy that sometimes the best solution to a problem is the one that shouldn't work at all. In the council chambers, as delegates from 100 worlds debated humanity's return, Chancellor Vex allowed himself a very human gesture. He smiled. The galaxy would never be the same again, and that, he realized, was exactly what they needed. The human way. 3 months after the Void Hunter crisis, the Galactic Alliance found itself transformed. Human advisors worked alongside alien scientists, their unorthodox methods creating ripples of change throughout established institutions. But change, as the galaxy was learning, rarely came without friction. In the research facility orbiting Kepler 442 bits, Dr. James Mitchell stood before a mixed group of xenobiologists, his human enthusiasm clashing with their measured skepticism. The holographic display showed a complex protein structure that conventional science deemed impossible. "You see," Mitchell explained, gesturing excitedly, "by introducing quantum uncertainty at the molecular level, we can create proteins that exist in multiple states simultaneously. It's like Schrödinger's catalyst." The lead Xenthran scientist, Dr. Thrix, fluttered her wing membranes in confusion. "But such instability should cause immediate breakdown. The energy requirements alone." "That's the beauty of it," Mitchell interrupted, a habit that still made his alien colleagues uncomfortable. "The instability is the function. Instead of fighting entropy, we're surfing it." Before anyone could respond, alarms began wailing throughout the facility. The main view screen activated, showing Admiral Chen's grim face. "All personnel, we have a code black situation. The Void Hunters have returned, but they're different. They've adapted to our chaos weapons. We need new solutions, fast." The research team rushed to the observation deck. Outside, space itself seemed to writhe. The Void Hunters had indeed returned, but their form had changed. Where once they were shadows of pure darkness, now they flickered with unstable energy patterns, chaos, and order warring within their very essence. "Fascinating," Mitchell breathed. "They've incorporated our chaos into their structure. They're trying to become immune." Then we've only made them stronger, Dr. Thrick said, her patches dimming with despair. No, Mitchell's eyes lit up with that particularly human expression that preceded either brilliance or disaster. We've made them vulnerable. Admiral, I need access to the quantum foam generators. And, do we still have those old fusion reactors from the Mars colonies? Chen raised an eyebrow. The ones we decommissioned for being too unstable. Mitchell, what are you thinking? I'm thinking it's time to show these entropy eaters what humans do best. We adapt faster than anyone else. Within hours, human engineering teams had begun modifications that made even their alien allies nervous. The decommissioned fusion reactors were brought online, but instead of containing their reactions, the humans deliberately introduced flaws. Quantum foam generators were recalibrated to create not just chaos, but patterns within chaos. Fractals of probability that shifted faster than thought. Captain Rodriguez stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the preparations with a mix of pride and concern. Chancellor Vex materialized beside her via hologram. Captain, your people are creating devices that could tear holes in space-time itself. The Council is concerned. Rodriguez nodded, as they should be. But that's the thing about humans, Chancellor. We're at our best when things are at their worst. We don't just solve problems. We revolutionize the entire paradigm, even at the risk of destroying yourselves. Especially then. It's not about the risk. It's about what lies beyond it. The modified Void Hunters struck first, their assault coordinated in ways their previous incarnation could never have managed. They had learned from their defeat, incorporating human chaos into their being while maintaining their hunger for energy. Traditional weapons were useless, and even the chaos generators that had saved them before now only seemed to strengthen the entities. But humans had learned too. Initiate Protocol Pandora, Admiral Chen commanded. Across the human fleet, the modified systems engage. But instead of pure chaos or ordered energy, they produced something entirely new, structured chaos, patterns that evolved faster than they could be analyzed. The unstable fusion reactors created energy signatures that shifted through dimensions, while quantum foam generators wove probability itself into weapons. The effect on the Void Hunters was immediate and devastating. They tried to adapt, to incorporate these new patterns, but the rate of change was too rapid. Each time they adjusted to one frequency, it had already evolved into something else. They were trapped in an endless cycle of adaptation, unable to feed, unable to flee. Dr. Mitchell watched from the research station, his instruments barely able to track what was happening. It's working. They're caught in an evolutionary feedback loop. They can't adapt fast enough. But the strain on human technology was immense. Ships began reporting system failures as their modified equipment pushed beyond all safety limits. The fabric of space itself groaned under the assault of conflicting physics. Admiral, the tactical officer reported, our systems are redlining. We can't maintain this level of chaos generation much longer. Chen's jaw tightened. How long? 3 minutes, maybe 4. And how long until the Void Hunters collapse? Unknown, sir. They're still adapting, just slower than our changes. This was the moment that would define humanity's place in the galaxy. They could pull back, preserve their ships and crews, and hope the weakened Void Hunters would retreat. Or they could push forward, risking everything on the chance of total victory. Chen made the only choice a human could make. All ships, increase output to maximum. Override all safety protocols. Sir, that cold. I know what it could do. But if we don't end this here, they'll keep coming back, keep adapting. Sometimes you have to break a few eggs. The human fleet became a constellation of impossible energies. Ships pushed their modified systems beyond all limits, creating a storm of evolving chaos that reality itself struggled to contain. Space fractured, revealing glimpses of dimensions that shouldn't exist. And in the center of it all, the Void Hunters writhed. They tried to adapt one final time, to evolve beyond the chaos, but the human assault was relentless. Each adaptation was met with 10 new variations, each evolution countered by 100 new possibilities. Finally, like a computer virus caught in an infinite loop, their borrowed chaos turned against them. The Void Hunters didn't just retreat or dissipate. They unraveled. Their stolen adaptations tore them apart from within, chaos and order canceling each other out in a cascade of annihilation that rippled through their entire swarm consciousness. In minutes, it was over. Where the evolved Void Hunters had been, only quantum static remained. The aftermath was sobering. 3 human ships had been lost, their crews pushing their vessels past the breaking point. Dozens more were damaged, their radical modifications leaving them barely spaceworthy. But the Void Hunters were gone, not just driven off, but fundamentally unmade. In the following days, as the galaxy processed what had happened, a new understanding emerged. The Zenthran scientist, Dr. Thrix, summed it up best during a joint briefing. We spent millennia perfecting order, creating stable systems and predictable outcomes, but stability became stagnation. The humans showed us that true strength lies not in perfection, but in adaptation. Not in order alone, but in the dance between order and chaos. Ambassador Vex nodded, addressing the assembled council. The humans have a saying, necessity is the mother of invention. But I think we've learned something more. For humans, impossibility is the mother of innovation. Captain Rodriguez stood before the Galactic Council, her uniform still bearing scorch marks from the battle. You asked us why we helped, why we risked everything for those who cast us out. The answer is simple, because we could. Because when hope fades and options disappear, humans don't accept defeat. We change the rules. But at such cost, murmured the Morvek representative. Your methods are so extreme. Rodriguez smiled, that distinctly human expression that had once unnerved the council. Now they were beginning to understand it. That's because we play for keeps. We don't just want to survive. We want to ensure no one has to face extinction alone again. The vote was unanimous. Humanity was not just welcomed back into the Galactic Alliance. They were given a permanent seat on the Security Council, their chaos-touched wisdom now seen as essential to the galaxy's future. As the ceremonies concluded and delegations dispersed, Dr. Mitchell found himself working alongside Dr. Thrix again. The Zenthran scientist watched as he cheerfully violated several laws of physics with his protein experiments. I still don't understand, she admitted. How do you humans function with such uncertainty? How do you make decisions when you can't predict the outcomes? Mitchell paused, considering. That's the secret, Doc. We don't try to predict everything. We just trust in our ability to handle whatever happens next. It's not about avoiding chaos. It's about dancing with it. Outside the station's viewports, human and alien ships now flew in mixed formations, their designs beginning to blend as technologies merge. The ordered symmetry of Alliance vessels showed touches of human asymmetry, while human ships incorporated alien efficiency. The galaxy had learned perhaps the most important lesson about humanity. They were not agents of chaos, but masters of balance. They didn't destroy order. They challenged it to grow. They didn't embrace destruction. They revolution. In secure facilities across known space, human and alien scientists worked together on the next generation of defenses. Not just weapons, but ways of thinking. The Void Hunters were gone, but the universe held other threats. Now, however, the galaxy faced them with a new perspective. When all hope was gone, they had made a final call to the humans. And the humans had answered not with just ships or weapons, but with a fundamental truth, that in the face of extinction, the greatest strength is the willingness to become something more than you were. The stars shone brighter now, or perhaps it was just that the galaxy saw them differently. Through human eyes, every point of light was not just a sun, but a possibility. Every shadow held not just danger, but opportunity. And in the depths of space, where the quantum foam still rippled from humanity's desperate gambit, something new was beginning. Not life as the galaxy knew it, but something born from the marriage of chaos and order, unpredictability and purpose. The humans had a word for it: evolution. And it was just getting started.